Welcome, dear viewers, to a new episode of Dialogue Horizon. In this episode, we will try to cover as much as we can and in depth about the relation, the historic relation between Sudan and Ethiopia. We have a lot of things in common, culturally and economically and socially. Even we have borders, we have tribes sharing borders with each other. Borders Sudanese, and so the Sudanese side and the others on the Ethiopian side, and they are the same one family. So the ties between Sudan and Ethiopia are deeply rooted in the history of Sudan and Ethiopia, and even in the politics of the two countries. Sudan hosted His Excellency late Emperor Haile Selassie, when he took refuge and Sudan as a safe haven just before going back and conquering the Italians and conquering the colonizers, till he ruled Ethiopia. So this topic is hot. We will try to discuss in this episode with my friend Dr. Yasser Ebaid. Yasser Ebaid, doctor, is an economist. He works not only economist, but he is fully aware of the African continent because he works in different institutions in different parts of Africa. Definitely, he knows everything, every details about the African countries, especially our neighbors in the east border, the Ethiopians. Welcome, Dr. Yasser Ebaid, with me in this episode, this important episode that we'll try to cover much as we can about the relation and the prospects of the future of the relation between Sudan and Ethiopia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Engineer Haraz, and my regards to Sudan TV and Dialogue Horizon program and all the people behind the cameras.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Yasser, I need to start the introduction, this dialogue, by the historic visit of His Excellency General Mohammed Hamadan Daglo, Vice President of the Supreme Council. He visited last week Ethiopia, two very short visit, but it was very important because it broke the ice which was built between the two countries. Not only first it was by the Renaissance Dam, the GERD, the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, then it went all the way and it reached the brink of a full confrontation between the two sides, Sudan and Ethiopia, in the war which erupted between the federal government of Abiy Ahmed and in the Tigray region, which is sharing the border of Sudan, that Tigray region, especially in the area, the most fertile area in Sudan, this Al-Fashaga area, is well known to be a very fertile land. So can you tell us first about your impression about the visit, the timing of the visit, immediately after Abiy Ahmed regained the control of the country, and after the conflicts which erupted between Sudan and Ethiopia, not only the GERD, the Renaissance Dam, also about the accusation or allegations that Sudan is helping the Tigray. And so what is your impression about the visit, and do you think it will something good and it will bring some good relations again back with Sudan?
As you know, Mr. Haraz, Sudan and Ethiopia are located in very sensitive area, very important area in the region, in African Horn, and this is one of the vital area for the other countries, for international countries, and for the located in area which is very important for Sudan and Ethiopia and for the rest of the world and international community, because of the location, because of the historical side of both countries. Sudan and Ethiopia, they are very close from long time, but because of the fluctuation of the relation between the two countries, and we know that because of the crisis in the both countries in the region, in Ethiopia and Sudan, this is why the border is always with many problems between the two countries, as you mentioned in the introduction, the area of Tigray area and Amhara area. It is all one of the hot areas because of the movement of the people, because of the movement of many issues there, and many problems there, which is making so much problem to the two countries. The visit of Mr. General Hamdan Daglo, the Vice President of the transitional presidential, it is one of the important issue and one of the important and significant visit which is being it came after the problems of Tigray, front of Tigray, with the federal government then. And as we know that historical-wise, most of the countries, Sudan and Ethiopia, they're accusing that each others about the rebels, about the oppositions, about whatever. And Sudan is being accused of that, and Sudan is very far off this problem because this internal problem, which is concern Ethiopia, is not Sudan is not part of that. Sudan is not. One of the arms which has been there, it's not that, this is why just pattern of accusing. This is why Ethiopia is very important to Sudan. The visit came in a significant time, in a very important time, in a very important era, because to build at least the relation, which is there are many strategic issues between Sudan and Ethiopia in the water, in the River Nile, and in the Renaissance issue of millennium issue of the dam, and this is why it comes. They have to build the relation, not to be to get any leakage of the problem. It came in a very important time because Sudan is being accused also with that side of Egypt and side of international community. This is why they have to rebuild this relation, and they have to come back to the stream of the relation and the diplomatic relation. And I'm sure the relation it made a lot of it really cooled the relation between the two countries. And Vice President go to visit Ethiopia at this time. It's really important for the both countries because there is many issues waiting for the two countries at least to build the relation in the area.
Okay, that's good. As of course you know, and the viewers know that the relation now in Sudan. Many millions, millions of Ethiopians are residing in Sudan. They are in Sudan and living happily. And this happened for quite a long time. They have very good relation. Never, we did not hear any from the Ethiopian community in Sudan. No problems at all whatsoever. Criminals or sabotage or terrorists.
Yes,
no, nothing was heard about this. About the people, the Ethiopian people.
Living in peace.
Yeah.
They're living in peace. And I want to know that when I go back a little bit, the only area which is being secured for the citizens of the Ethiopia is Sudan. Go to the west, only Sudan. Yeah. So because of when according to all the history and the statistic of the history, any war happened there or any crisis happened there, all of them, they come to Sudan, and they became part of them, became one of the residents there in Sudan, became citizen in Sudan, became part of the economy, and they're staying in peace, they're staying in without any problem. Others even staying without papers even. Nobody touched them.
Yeah. Not only this, Dr. Yasser Eid, also the culture. The culture between the two countries, the culture of the people is almost the same, almost similar.
Because
the way they are, the family ties, they have very good family ties, and even the songs.
It's true.
If you go to Addis, if you go to anywhere, wherever you go, you listen to Sudanese songs, and here Sudanese people also they like Sudanese songs and dances. So the cultural actually it seems that as if it's one nation. I remember one day when I went always when I go to Addis. When I'm there, people, the Ethiopians, they start talking with me. I'm Harik, thinking that
you're Ethiopian.
Yeah.
It's true.
You can hardly differentiate between Sudanese and
very
Ethiopian,
difficult.
whether in Sudan or whether in Ethiopia.
It's so difficult.
So this is something not. So okay, to what extent can this visit Do you think that it will do something about because still there are issues between making some tension between Ethiopia governance, the people, no problem with the people. Still there are some issues like the Gerd also, the Gerd and the water, and the invaders in the east of what they call the Shifta, those who inhabited part of the Sudanese land in Al-Fashaga, and they started cultivating the land. But do you think this visit will break this ice between the two countries, and it will pave the way for further cooperation and collaboration in different aspects?
Definitely, it's going to pave the way. The visit for Mr. Hamdan Daglo, the Vice President, to Ethiopia. It really, as mentioned, that it has many significant points. And as you know, that historical, as you mentioned, Mr. Haraz, about the history of the both country in culture and whatever, before the Rift Valley, even before the Red Sea, and after that, it was one nation, one areas, before even the Rift Valley split Asia and Africa. This is why it is came. When it comes to the borders in Sudan, between Sudan and Ethiopia, it will be the demarcation between Sudan and it will be since 1902. And demarcation of the borders is being put there since the time of the colonization of the British between both countries, and it been renewed, the agreement been renewed 1994, and it been renewed 1993, and the border is very clear, but it's not being put the signs there, but it's very clear, and one of the best areas which is in Africa has been very clear.
Demarcation
of the borders there.
And there is no dispute about that.
There is no dispute. And people living without any problem. And when the Fashaga came, it is just came back to Sudan, and the demarcation it is there, and the market there, and very clear. And it's part of this because of the nature is just the nature maybe is just it's putting part of the science there. It's not clear. So it was not clear.
No, not demarcation. But you know, this also attributed to a very historic agreement in 1902.
Yes, 1902.
1902 between Emperor Menelik II and the British colonizers of Sudan.
They were independent that side, and we are under colonization. Sudan was under colonization. That's the point. And that been signed agreement between the colonization and between the British governor and the pair of Ethiopia, and were their independent country. It was not part of the colonized or was not being forced to sign that agreement. They signed it just freely without any.
What is good about
without
this
pressure.
Is that still all governments of Ethiopian governments or regimes which ruled Ethiopia since that time, 1902, they respect this agreement.
It's true.
They are not talking about
they respect it. They respect it. Many times they have mentioned that 1974, 1993 has been mentioned, and now even recently, the both committees, they have mentioned that one. Let me go back to the visit. In fact, the visit is really broke the ice between the two countries, and the visit between Mr. Hamdan Daglo and Abiy Ahmed, the Prime Minister. It's really pulled the relation from that tension to the peace way, and they have started now talking about the analysis of the dam, and talking about part of the refugees and those people who are displaced there from that side, and that is I think so, and in fact the visit came in time, which is for both countries. It is really. It's not being used by others. Maybe can use by others and can be put in a different way. And I think so. This is phase one. Maybe the phase two. They're going to speak about the projects. They're going to speak about the borders there, which they can sign some of the investment between the two countries. As you mentioned also that Abiy Ahmed, he talks about the raw materials can come to Sudan, and they can be manufactured.
It is something good, and not only
very good. In fact,
I think as a good gesture. I think Abiy Ahmed as a good gesture, he released some of Sudanese prisoners. I don't know how many, but anyhow, it is a gesture. It's a good gesture that it is something
Like a goodwill, in fact, is a good,
goodwill.
the good that what he told. Ahmed, he has good experience, and really cannot the rule the country cannot be ruled by it should be by diplomatic way, by thinking way proper for your nation, your people, for your neighboring countries. You have to think well about your benefit between both countries and between both of the committee there. And Ethiopia, it was one of the emerging country in economy. In fact, last 10 years, it's one of the biggest country in Africa, which is improving in economy, which is, have you seen the indicator, the growth is going very well there, and the economy is being getting the stability there. Investors are really, they are going to Ethiopia, and any interruption, any crisis or a problem there, it's going to give them so much problems. They have to look for their benefit, they have to look for the benefit of the countries, they have to look for the people, they have to look for the neighboring country, how they exchange the benefits and ideas and investment between the both countries in a different way. And Sudan also has a lot of potential, has a lot of institution here. Ethiopia can use parts of it. They have a lot of experts here in Sudan. They can be changed, even the university, the research centers, and whatever. Potential in Sudan. In fact, there can be exchange between the both countries.
Needless to remind you and the viewers about something very important, that in the recent history of the revolution, Abiy Ahmed, I think, played a very pivotal role in the early talks between the military component and the civilian component, until it culminated to the constitutional document of which the civilian government was formed, and then it was dissolved. But Abiy Ahmed at that time, he played a very important role, and he stayed few days. Not only this, but also one of the ambassadors, Muhammad, I don't know, remember the name. He stayed almost all. He was the ambassador in Egypt.
Faki, Musa Faki.
But he was here.
Okay,
for about almost 1 month.
Yeah, he was. I think so. Abiy Ahmed was on a focal point of when the signing the agreement between the military and the civilian groups at that time, and in the constitutional bill they have signed. He was one of the main players and key in that time, and because he's acceptable character and acceptable for all, and people both parties trust Abiy Ahmed as one of the neighbor countries. As you mentioned, even the historical relation between Sudan and Ethiopia, and they can trust Ethiopia more than others. And Ethiopian, they can't just go to the side and leave the other side. And that time, he really played a lot of a good role, and he was a big player in that time of the revolution. And still, and even before that, the talks there, and many talks has been held in Addis Ababa from long time up to the even time of the revolution, both of the side of the military and civilian side. It was good, in fact, from Abiy Ahmed to do that. This is why people still putting that for Abiy Ahmed is one of the good advantage for what he did to Sudan. And still also we had the Sudan also have to mediate between federal government and between Tigray Front, at least to come together without going to the war, because the war, in Africa is really one of the biggest disasters, one of the biggest destroyer to the nation, to the people, to the resources. And the region, even one of the biggest region in the world now, is still the crisis and the problems in one of the biggest side on the statistic of the crisis in Africa since 2012 up to now. Africa is really reducing by a lot of crisis in Africa. Only this area, maybe the African Horn, in Ethiopia, in Somalia, in maybe in Sudan and Southern Sudan, this area of Horn of Africa. This is why they have to go away from these problems and this crisis. They have to come back to how to build their countries, because most of the Africa, in Central Africa, really they have developed the countries now. They have like Kenya, and so now they've gone very far. In fact, in developments in rest of the investment. So they have to become one of the biggest attractors to investment. Ethiopia is going on that, but the war is going to also to stop them. But let us think together on how to attract investment to this country between even our private sector. They can go there, their private sector, they can come to Sudan, they can invest really securely without any problem, and they can get more benefits. And Sudan, in fact, by a sign between, there is a protocol being signed by both 6 countries in IGAD on free movements and free movement through properties for movements and there. This is why we have to go together to that.
Okay, but you remember, just to remind you also and the viewer that if you go back to history, since for quite a long time, or even about more than 100 years, the relation between Sudan and Egypt but Sudan and Ethiopia was good throughout. First, to speak about the Emperor Haile Selassie, the good relation with all people, governance, whether they're the democratic the parties which ruled the country, even with General Aboud, the relation was good. After Haile Selassie was ousted by Mengistu Haile Mariam, Mengistu Haile Mariam was a very sharp leftist governance, but also it maintained the good relation with Sudan, and there was no case reported about any skirmishes at the borders or any conflict. After Mengistu, then came the late Meles Zenawi. Meles Zenawi, he had very good relations with Sudan, and he stayed in Sudan, by the way. He speaks Arabic better than me and you, because he stayed for a long time in Sudan. And from Sudan, his revolution against Mengistu, he and Siasi Afwerki, both of them, they were in Sudan for years and years until they managed
speak
to
even Sudanese accent.
Yes, even Sudanese accent, the same Sudanese, because they stayed here long till he managed to oust Mengistu. Meles Zenawi had good relations with Sudan. I remember one thing very important, and I wrote an article about this. I wrote an article about Meles Zenawi. He came in, I think on 2011, I think before the start of the Renaissance, building the Renaissance Dam, but about his decision to build the dam. I remember I quote him, he said, I thought that Sudan should not be afraid or skeptical about this because we are building this.
He visited, in fact, by the way, Bajrawiya also,
yes,
I remember.
He said we are building it only few 40 or 80 kilometers from the borders of Sudan. The bad effects of the dam will be on our side, the high upstream. Upstream is Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Any adverse effect, bad effects of the dam, it will be on the Ethiopian. So he said, I thought that Sudan will be willing to participate by 25 or 30% of the cost of the dam, the Renaissance Dam, because Sudan will benefit from the dam more than Ethiopia. That is his word. And I wrote an article at that time to the regime. Pick it, I titled, pick it before it is too late. They did not pick that. If they contributed by 20 or 30% in the dam, then we could have been shareholders.
Yes, true.
No conflict. But this gives you the intention about how the Ethiopian governance was trying to be good with Sudan. After that, then even when Desalegn succeeded late Meles Zenawi after he died, also the document DOP, Declaration of Principles, the Declaration of Principles was signed between the 3 countries, Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia. It was Desalegn. After Desalegn, Abiy Ahmed, as we told you, that he played a pivotal role in the transformation from the ousted regime of al-Bashir, Salvation regime, to the democratic regime by the constitutional document. Okay, now having talked about the Renaissance Dam, it started to be a bone of contention between Ethiopia, Sudan, and Egypt. Every part claiming the Ethiopians, they said that they will make sure and observe and respect all agreements which led to the the River Nile Agreement. So not a single drop of water will be taken from either Sudan or Egypt. What is your comment on the Renaissance Dam?
I think Renaissance Dam, it really got a lot of talks, which is part of it is not in fact logically. The Renaissance Dam, it is when it's been established, and before the establishment of the Renaissance Dam, it is really it's been issued it's been being declared by the Ethiopian government before a long time, and it was there is more than 12 even the dams should be built that time, and Ethiopia just after mainly now to concentrate on this dams, try just to take it as one of the serious dams going to get a lot of Ethiopia has to use the water what it is having in Ethiopia, and as we know that the Tana Lake it is come from Ethiopia, and the benefit for Sudan and for Ethiopia, it really has a lot of advantage. Many advantage, and the advantage is more than disadvantage, and even for Egypt itself, even I think so. But sometimes the politics remove the things from here to there. But I think so. There are a lot of advantage from Sudan is going to organize the river Nile. Is going to organize it. They're going to take the tank of the river to be organized. There is no going to organize all the floods of the water, and going to get the strategic goals for that. It is the electricity. So that's going to benefit a lot of from very cheaper electricity, and even maybe also Egypt, and organizing of the river of Blue Nile. It was has a lot of problems and really destroy a lot of projects around the river Nile, around the tanks of the river. This is why is it so many advantage of that, and there is also the indirect advantage of the Nizers in that. And because of the mining, also a lot of whatever, so there is advantage there, and Sudan is going to benefit from that, and even Egypt also is going to export to Egypt, maybe to Algeria. We know that electricity to those areas, and maybe we can form a lot of projects there inside of Fashaga and those areas of the borders there between Sudan and Egypt, and there is one of the between Sudan and Egypt and Ethiopia. That suggestion there to at least to make some of the projects there can be. This is why when I have seen the visit comes on this time, it relax the relation between the two countries, and it's going to start again the talks about the dam. Maybe starting the talks again, and the talks stop because of the war between federal governments and Tigray Front. Maybe going to start again. At least we finalize all the problems and all the obstacles in the talks between, and the declaration principle is very clear between both countries and the rest. And now I've seen the African Union also is interfering in that, at least to solve the part of the problems between the three countries.
So you think that people should not be afraid to either Sudan or Egypt, because one thing, that's my logic, not something about the GERD, this Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. If the Ethiopians, if they have, in my mind, if they have bad intention, late Meles Zenawi would not have invited Sudan to be a shareholder.
Yeah.
Because once you are a shareholder, you will be exposed to all documents. You will be exposed, you will know every bit and piece, because you are a shareholder.
Owner.
You are owner. So if he has a bad intention, he will not offer that. Because just if Sudan picked that offer on time and contributed by $1.2 billion, which is 25% of the cost of the dam maybe, or whatever amount, but in installments, this could have given the Sudan the leverage of knowing all details, all no secret, because is the owner also.
The owner, yes, and shareholder.
So this is by logic.
It's
If
true.
they have bad intention, they will not invite you to be an owner with them. This is one thing. The other thing, which is very important, that the cost of the hydropower now Sudan is in deep trouble with the power, because now we have a problem in the north region. They are blocking the lifeline between Sudan and Egypt because of the high cost of the power. The new tariff, the new electricity tariff imposed, it was almost 1,000 times the original. That's why they now, for 10 days or 12 days, they blocked the main lifeline between Egypt and Sudan, and about 1,500 trucks, big trucks, stranded in the two banks of the highway. So this is because of the power. But if the 6,000 power from the gate, which is hydropower, as we know, hydropower is cheap, very cheap, cheaper compared to the thermal power or nuclear
Yes, true.
power or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's true.
But the cheapest is the hydropower. So this
Yes,
could
it's
have,
true. Sudan is going to benefit from that, I think. So.
should have benefited.
It's going to benefit so much, and because as you mentioned, even this hydropower is one of the cheapest power than geothermal or whatever, or nuclear power or other power.
Or solar
Sudan,
power.
Sudan is in need of that because it has shortage of electricity. It's going to benefit and going to get cheaper electricity there, and maybe it's going to form many projects around the areas, and even the connection of the rest to the other countries, maybe to the west of Africa or to north of Africa, maybe it's going to be through Sudan. So they're going to benefit also from that side of the moving at least the electricity there. Is going to benefit from that hydropower, and going to get cheaper
It will
because
regulate the flow of water. Throughout the year, no devastating floods.
and very organized, in fact, because Ethiopia has so many benefits from Sudan. Also, going using the Port Sudan, going to using the port also
Yeah.
for their having so much storage facilities there, having so many benefits from there, having also the connection of the pipeline of oil also from Sudan. It was working since 1999 up to. Maybe just now there is shortage, but it was one of the strategic plan, and by the tanks and whatever is using the Port Sudan, even in oil and whatever from there. That's part of the exchange of benefits between the two countries.
Very
And now the Ethiopia is having, so this is very big project. It's going to be cheaper project, going to be cheaper electricity from Ethiopia. And Egypt also is going to benefit if they're going to expand their projects there, or it might get cheaper also electricity there. And I think so. This is it is historical issue. The Nile you cannot say that we're going to cut off the things from this country or that.
No.
This is something historical, and there is a lot of examples around the world. Even it's better use that potential to the both countries, the benefit of the both countries, or whole countries, the three countries, instead of become one of the arms against the others or against others.
I remember, okay, this having said this, Dr. Yasser Al-Abeid, I remember one of my friends, colleague, actually a classmate, we introduced him in this dialogue horizon. He was the ex-minister of irrigation, Dr. Osman Attom. He spoke many times in dialogue horizon. He said something very interesting about that the gate should not be a point of the difference between the three countries. It could be a point of integration.
It's true.
He's saying that this is very ideal for integration of the efforts from the three countries, Sudan, Egypt, and Ethiopia. Each has its own leverage. Each has Sudan, it has the land, it has the water, rainwater. Egypt, they have the technology and they have the labor. Ethiopians, they have the power.
have the
we are
power,
going-
yeah.
So this
And
integration.
it's a good market even. There are more 100 millions. It's a good market also for the production, for the commodities, for the rest of what is being produced in three countries, in Sudan or in Egypt. Ethiopia also is a part of a market, one of the good market, because of the population of Ethiopia. As you mentioned, also Egypt has a know-how, has a technology, has a research centers, has a lot of things. Sudan has a lands, of the topography of the lands, and the variety of the climate there, and having a lot of potential in different side of livestock, like in agriculture, in mining, and can use this labor and can get also cheaper labor from Ethiopia in big projects. So you know that there is a lot of potential, but it's not being used well. The issue of the politics cannot be used. You know, these three countries, they can be one of the richest countries in the world. A lot of potential there. Labor charge can be very cheap, one of the cheapest labor charge. As we know that after the globalization, most of the international companies just try to remove their factories from their origin to other rest of
where labor is cheap,
where the labor is cheap, even in Europe or of the west of the Europe. This is why Sudan and Egypt and Ethiopia, I think so, after this visit, I expect, even if can get for the three presidents to Sudan, Ethiopia, and Egypt, they can come back again and speak well about the projects and the strategic projects between the three countries, instead of just try to use politics against each others, and who's going to get problem with the citizen and the people whom are surviving and having so much problem of life and so much problems in that. This is why the poverty there is one of the biggest countries in the world in poverty, in IGAD countries and Horn of Africa countries.
So I just remember something I want to cite. I want to enhance my argument about this integration as a point of convergence, not divergence between the countries, three countries. I just want to cite the quotation of Abiy Ahmed last week. Last week he said, when he went to the Renaissance Dam to see the progress of the work, now he started talking about the power. Once they get the power generated, the 6,000, maybe after 1 year, 2 years, whatever, anyhow, he said that Ethiopia can import from Sudan agricultural commodities which can be transformed by industry when they have the power. About $5.5 billion worth of goods coming from Sudan just to Ethiopia to be processed there. Like, just name it, let us say gum Arabic.
Yeah.
Gum Arabic we export it at very raw and at very cheap price. Then it can be processed there. The livestock also, the leather factory, the tanneries. Anyhow, he mentioned that $5.5 billion will be the size of the trade between Sudan and Ethiopia at the event of the start of the generation of power from the dam. So this also is a point that encourages the integration rather than the divergence. So that's why people do not to sit and to have some, like you are an economist, feasibility studies for the integration project between the three countries, rather than just leaving the politics and the side issues and the vested interests. There are some vested interests created by some rulers, created by foreigners, by intelligence, but people should be very wise and very clever and smart to diffuse these malicious plots of making splits and herds between Sudan, Ethiopia, to have something in common.
I think for most countries they have to think rationally between them. Really, unfortunately, the trade balance between the two countries is very shame. It's really very shame. It's not between
smuggling mainly.
Smuggling is really very active there, and the government is not benefiting anything. So both governments, and Gum Arabic also has been smuggled to Ethiopia. Ethiopia has been smuggling some items there, and this is very shameful. And I think so. Most of the speculator there and most of the trader there, they're benefiting only individually without involving the community or involving the governments and taking taxes from the boss, and that is part of the issue which should be stopped now. Smuggling going really like most of the problems there is active in that area and that border, and they have to stop that one immediately, because Sudan has to be serious on that, smuggling of Agam Arabic and products there, and also the crops of Sudan there. Also being smuggled to Ethiopia. Ethiopia also the smuggling some of the items there to Sudan without the government getting the taxes, getting the revenue from there. So they have to be active. So at least we activate our trade balance between the two countries. That is a lot of there is a lot of consumer there in Ethiopia. There is a lot of products in Sudan here. So they have to work integratedly, both together, at least to make projects, they have to legalize the trade between both countries. They have to make it legally without any problem. They have to form some of the banks there in the border. At least they can exchange for exchanging of the money, transferring the money from Ethiopia to Sudan, and they can also form currency there between both countries. How they exchange in trade between the birr of Ethiopia and between the pound in Sudan, and how they can get it there on a good rate between both countries, because Sudan having the ports there, and Ethiopia can import it through that instead of smuggling the products from Sudan and just re-export it through another again to the world, to the same with the same border, or to the rest of the border, maybe to Djibouti, to others. So that is a part of they have to think properly between both Minister of Trade, Minister of Security, or Minister of Finance. They have to make a vision between both countries, because like we have seen, Al Fashaga is a part of Sudan. And Fashaga is one of the best area in agriculture in Africa. So they can use this in projects, good proper projects and big projects. They can call over investors from overseas. They can come and invest there. They can use the labors of Ethiopia. They can take the products there officially without smuggling, without occupying the area. And the things it needs a vision.
What kind of crops are in Fashaga area? Sesame?
Cotton,
Gum
Arabic, sesame, and most of the products in Sudan grows in
a very fertile land.
It's one of the best area for agriculture, even in Sudan. Agam Arabic also there, and cotton is a lot of cotton from that side. And
when you speak about cotton, do you speak about the industry?
Industry
of,
there, yes.
weaving, spinning,
even for tourism. Also, you can make a lot of industry there for tourism, and you can make a lot of resort there. You can make a lot of even there is a lot of potential of animals there, wild and birds and whatever. So they can attract a lot of animals from the other area. Can come there and can make a lot of national parks. You can make a lot of, the people.
So you think because we have few minutes, we have still few minutes, but you think that it's always better for both countries to keep good relations,
should be
to maintain the originally good relations between Sudan through the history, Sudan and Ethiopia relations. As I told you, as I said in this episode, the relation is proved to be very good, very cordial, and very fraternal. Sudan, Ethiopia, and the governments at the level of the people, nobody is feeling any hard feeling between the. But at the level of the governance, sometimes it experiences some turbulences due to political and vested interests. I insist on vested interests, not from Sudanese governments, but from other external forces, because they have their own plans and strategies to make control of Sudan. Sudan is strategically one of the best. It is right in the middle of the African hub, sharing border with 7 important countries. Ethiopia is one of them, Egypt, and 7 countries. So this makes the international concern very high about Sudan and its integrity and coherence as a body. But from our side, I'm from the economy. You are an economist and expert and scholar in economy. You, you think that the cooperation and integration between Sudan, Egypt, and Ethiopia, the three countries, if they have a trio integrational projects, each giving its own resources, this should benefit both the three countries. What is your overall comment on this issue?
We must
Just
exchange.
give us an example, Sudan. What is the advantage of Sudan and Egypt and Ethiopia?
We must exchange the benefits and ideas and potential between three countries. As we mentioned, Egypt has a lot of technologies, having the know-how, having the expert there, and Sudan having a lot
Skill.
of and skill there. It is labor skills, and Sudan we're having a lot of potential. The topography of the land and the agriculture and the climate and
Virgin lands.
Virgin lands. In fact, is
Plenty of water.
200 millions and livestock, and Ethiopia has a labor out there, and the cheaper labor can come to Sudan, and they can form a lot of projects and in the area. Instead of use the problems between each countries, and we have to lose. And this area, one of the dangerous area in fact in Africa. So a lot of tourists moving there, and most of the countries there, Ethiopia, Sudan, are really been harmed by this phenomenon of the tourism and financing the tourism and illegal trade, and the smuggling of the arms, of the illegal immigration, and that's a lot of problems in that area. We should form at least permanent committee in security, because security is one of the main problem there. So you can't form any projects, and you can't establish any projects without interruption of the security there, because you have to keep the security there on both countries, especially between Sudan, border between Sudan and Ethiopia and Eritrea. We have to keep it well, and we have to keep the security, and political there should not be interfered there. Only economic, only investment, only calling for international financiers and forming banks there, and how you can call the people there to come and invest. Even the private sectors for the three countries, they can do a lot of, and government can help them to do projects there. At least they can form only in agriculture. They can think so. Egypt is going to benefit so much on these projects, a lot of benefit, because Egypt is in need of a lot of products from Sudan, from this area, and instead of smuggling the issue of smuggling the commodity there and crops there, they can form it and take it without any problem, and the three governments can benefit from that one, and we can activate our trade balance there between Sudan and Egypt and
yes,
and
okay. Just
Ethiopia.
before I hear your last comment, I just give very short, about the potential for each country. Right, for example, let's start with Sudan. Sudan has, as far as I know, about 125 million of sustained livestock available.
Yeah.
It has arable land and water.
200
Water
million
is
square meter.
About 275 dan or acres of arable land.
Yes, true.
Only 20% is used. Ethiopia, on the other side, is called the water tower, because it has the potential of generating about 45 million megawatt.
Yeah.
So 45,000 megawatt from the water resources plus the water, and Egypt has the technology, the know-how. So in 1 minute, how can we integrate these three countries to make a very strong bloc in Africa?
We have almost 250 million people there. 250 million. That's one of the biggest population. It's a good and a good market of products and whatever. On this potential, and as you know that Ethiopia having labor charge and very cheap labor there, and in Sudan, as you mentioned, has so much potential. Even in mining, maybe the traditional mining, they can come and organize this, and they can work well on by license and whatever. And Egypt, as you know, that the companies can come and invest in this area safely without any problem, and they can benefit a lot on their economy there, and they can activate the trade balance between Sudan and Egypt, and between Sudan and Ethiopia. And we can also call another countries also like Djibouti and
other countries.
and Eritrea, And Somali maybe and southern of Sudan also has a lot of potential in oil and that part, and they can benefit a lot.
Okay, okay, thank you, Dr. Yasser Al-Abeid, for being with us in this very important episode about the relation between Sudan and Ethiopia and how to make it in integration to benefit from all countries and to maintain the good relation with Sudan and Ethiopia. It has to be maintained. Okay, thank you, dear viewers, for being with us in the last hour or so. Hope to see you next week in another issue of Dialogue Horizon. Thank you and bye.